moving on to question 4, year 11. Question 4 is also worth 10 marks and will generally always ask you how reliable a source is. So for example, the question might say, how reliable is source D for finding out about? And then the question will indicate what you need to look at as the focus of the question. When we look at reliability, it's important that we bear some things in mind. When a historian wants to check whether a source is reliable, they have to check whether they can trust it. Does the source give us an accurate information about the event in question? So for example, you want to look at the bottom of the source. Look at the information given at the bottom. For example, was the person there at the time? Did the person experience the event firsthand? Was the author involved in the event? Did the author understand the overall context? If it was a photograph, you need to check when the photograph was taken. Was the photographer there? We need to bear all these things in mind when thinking about whether a source is reliable. Secondly, historians need to think about the person who wrote the source or created the source. Did the person have an ulterior motive in creating the source? Did they want to give a full and accurate account, or would they have wanted to miss some things out? Would the author have a reason to be positive about an event or negative about an event? Would an author want to avoid telling the whole truth? We have to bear all these questions in mind when we're analysing our sources to be successful. We also need to think about whether the description of the event given in the source is typical. By that we mean, is this what we would expect to see written about an event? Or does it immediately raise questions in our mind or look different? You use something every history lesson that will help you to do this, and it's MPOC. So remember, when you get a reliability question, the first thing you need to do is MPOC your source: nature, purpose, origin, context. Year 11, once you've written your answer to question 4 and you've decided how reliable the source is, just go through a quick checklist in your mind to help you make sure you haven't made these mistakes. Firstly, don't just say a source is reliable because it's primary and comes from the time. If this were true, everything ever written in a newspaper would be true, and we know it isn't. Secondly, don't say it's reliable just because it was written by someone who experienced the event. If that was true, someone could be involved in a car accident and tell lies rather than admit the real truth. So bear that in mind. And thirdly, do not say it is unreliable because it was written by a historian who wasn't there at the time. Historians do lots of research into events and evaluate a range of sources before they write their own interpretation and come to a conclusion. So remember, look at the source. Why is it reliable? Why isn't it reliable? Come to an overall conclusion and make sure you don't make these mistakes.